Hello, everybody. Welcome to the very first episode of Boilermaker Banter podcast. I am your host, Brian. I am with my co-host, Brett. He's right on over there. Say hi, Brett.
Hi, Brett.
We are Purdue fans, as you can tell from the backdrop. We are Purdue grads. We are Purdue alumnus. I ran track when I was at Purdue. We love everything Purdue, so we're here to talk to all you Boilermaker fans about anything that has to deal with Purdue sports. And right now, because we're in basketball season, we are talking about Purdue men's basketball. So, Brett, do you have anything to say before we get started into the content of what we're going to talk about?
No, I'm to say welcome everybody, and yeah, we're all about Purdue. We love our school. Boiler up.
Okay, here we go. We're going to talk about the Michigan game that just played this past week. The way we're planning on setting this up, we're going to be talking a lot about the games that we have played. We're going to be talking about the games that are going to be coming up, like the Michigan State game. And we're always going to have some kind of hypothetical question that Brett or I will ask you that will get you thinking and engaged in with our podcast. So right now we played Michigan last week, and so Brett, what do you see from the stats? What happened in that game? Because I'm kind of curious. We were favored by a lot more points than we won by. What do you think happened?
Well, it comes down to something that you and I have talked about, and one of the reasons why we wanted to start this podcast is that Purdue seems to bring out the best in teams, and they certainly did that against Michigan. Yes, Purdue won, but they just brought out the best in that team, and it seems to be what happens when Purdue plays just about anybody. You seem to find someone on the opponent's team become a sensational superstar. They have their best performance, or the team just all out just plays their best basketball all season.
Yeah.
And Michigan certainly played good basketball.
Yeah. So do you think, because we always talk about this, and I know other people are going to be thinking about this, do these other teams play so well against Purdue because lately, probably I would say in the last, 3 years, we've been top ranked in the country. So teams are just mentally and emotionally more supercharged and ready to go, even though they might be the worst team in the conference, for an example. But somehow they come out with just a little bit more of an edge, and their star players always find a way to come out and do really well against us? Or do you think that it could be more of a Purdue problem from the standpoint of our defense, like especially our perimeter defense on these top guards? Because it seems like it's the guards from these teams or these small type of forward guys that can drive the lane that we struggle with. So what do you think it is? Do you think it's the mentalness of these teams when they come on to play Purdue, or do you think there's some weakness in our defense?
Well, I believe there's a combination of both. On the first one, when teams come to play or when teams play Purdue, we talked about this. You had brought this up a while back, that when teams play Purdue in the last, 3 years, every time a team beats Purdue, they storm the court.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible stat, that these teams are so pumped and primed to play Purdue that the fans are aware of it. And if they beat Purdue, they storm that court. So with that, you think about this from the opponent's standpoint first. They're primed to say, we can beat them. They're not thinking about, oh my gosh, we got to hold on. They're not thinking in a negative light. They're thinking we can ascend to the pinnacle and we can beat this Purdue team. You flip that and you look at Purdue, they're mentally prepared, but they come at it from a different, you can see this um, uh, kind of tentative uh, throughout the game. They get a little tentative. Some stop shooting. We've talked about this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more. That um, it seems as if they're saying we just have to win this game. We've got to make these shots. We need to make our free throws. We need to stop them. So they have that mental attitude of saying we just got to play good ball. We just have to play good ball and we can win it. Just play good ball. So you have those two dynamic mental states because they're already they're everyone is everyone is in shape. They're ready to go out there and play. It just comes down now to that mental, uh, who is more mentally prepared. And these teams that play Purdue, they're coming at it with a much different mental attitude. And so they're going to go in there saying, we can do it. We can make these shots. We can, Tamanaga, I'm just going to come down and shoot. I'm
Yeah.
going to hit 3-4 in a row. So a lot of it is that mental, they come out of a much more mentally relaxed and focused state of mind.
Well, what I've been noticing, excuse me, is Zach Edey. I mean, he's putting up incredible numbers, at least from what the experts say. I mean, we do see it, but it seems like he is becoming a little bit more. I don't know really what the word is. He seems to be feeling it more, the pressure, and he feels like he deserves it more when his mannerisms after he gets fouled. It's like he feels like, hey, yeah, I am getting fouled and I deserve to get this foul and I deserve to get my points. It seems like lately I've been noticing that compared to the first part of the season where he was just going out and playing, but it seems like he's got a chip on his shoulder now, and I'm starting to notice that. And I'm not really sure what that is, if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I hope it's a good thing. But as I look down the stat sheet with Purdue against Michigan, I mean, you had Edey with 35 and 15. That's a typical Edey. I don't know how many guys he fouled out of that game. I don't know if it was 2 or 3, and it tends to be sort of what's going on. But, if he doesn't get into foul trouble, causes the other guys to foul, I don't know what his numbers would be like, so that's kind of scary. But then you look at Jones, he had 15, you had Smith with 11, and I know he has a lot of assists. Lawyer is the one, and still Lawyer, he had 9 points, but I mean, do you think something is going on with him? Because I think when we watched this game, we were still thinking, what is wrong with Lawyer?
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Well, with Lawyer, one of the things that we can talk about, something that we have talked about for a while now, and that is setting up tiers of players. And so our tier one players, we put those 3 key guys who really put on most of the minutes and will probably put most of the points on the board. And initially, our tier one was Edey, Smith, and Lawyer, because they really got most of the minutes. And so they were our tier one. We had our tier two. So in your tier two, you had Jones, Gillis, and Heidi. And then you had the balance of the other players in that tier three, and even we had some tier four. Looking at that tier one and tier two, and then everybody else in say the tier three, everyone has to contribute. One thing that we can look at last year, or in any game that we've lost, oftentimes you find that our tier one players don't get the points they need, and then you have other players who don't get into the double figures because if we're going to struggle on defense, and oftentimes we do, because sometimes you look at Nebraska, you look at Northwestern with Boo Buie, they're going to put points on the board. And if Purdue can at least get 70, 75, they're going to struggle. And the only way that Purdue is only going to get 65 or 60 is if our tier two players can't step up and our tier three can't step up when our tier one players are not putting the points on the board. So Fletcher Lawyer, you're right. In the last couple of games, he has really struggled from beyond the arc. he finally against Michigan hit his first three in how many games? He's
Yeah.
like two forever. So, and he's one of our tier one key players. And so you and I, we've talked about this, about what Lawyer's contribution is on that floor. Is his contribution because he's a starter, because he has a lot of minutes, which I think lately you've seen him. I think his minutes have kind of been pulled back a little bit because of Gillis and sometimes Morton because of that defense, because we've noticed that basically our drop coverage, we're not guarding too well. And that's why a lot of these teams are getting some clear and open threes. But yeah, Fletcher Lawyer, I am concerned that is he tired? Because towards the end of last season, this is basically what he did last season as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So I think what we read or heard about, or what was kind of going around, was that he injured his calf at some point last year, but obviously they didn't mention it to anybody until at the end of the season. But I don't know if that's actually true. But my take is he's not that, I would say, muscular fit like some of the other guys. If you look at Jones, I mean, he is built like a linebacker. He looks like he can just go, 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 and it doesn't tire him out. Edie's the same way. You know, they're both big, strong guys for their positions. If you look at Lawyer, he just doesn't look very strong. He looks more lanky as a three guy. Maybe, I don't know if he's a two or a three. And so I think his long-term stamina is probably getting to him at this point. His legs look a little more tired. And we know, just like everybody else, if you are an outside big-time three-point shooter, you need to have good legs. You need to be able to set yourself up and get a good shot. And I just think that he's just maybe just a little tired, but it's hard to tell because he's not really trying to shoot anymore. So that's a problem.
Let me ask
too.
you. I was going to ask you that. In the last few games, and this goes for a lot of the players, it's like a cold that they catch. Fletcher Lawyer goes out, and if he misses a couple shots, he stops shooting. He's got an open shot, and what does he do? He tries to take it inside, and oftentimes he makes a bad decision, either a bad pass or a bad shot, and he winds up on the floor.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, what happens? Because it's not just Lawyer. Oftentimes, if you get a couple guys that miss their first couple attempts, it's the situation that I stated earlier, that no one wants. They just want to get the ball into Edie. And that's exactly what happened last year. And that's what I see when you look at their stats. They only had three guys, Edie, Jones, and Smith, in double figures.
Yep.
And then if you look at Michigan, they had 5 guys in double figures.
Yeah.
So they had 5 big contributors.
Yeah.
What is
the only difference in that game was Edie.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the one that dominated and took over the game. That was it. And that was kind of the recipe for last year's wins. We do have Smith, we do have Jones, and I do believe they are way better than they were last year. But it seems like sometimes you have a game where it's like we're relying on Edie to get it done. Now, maybe that's just the way basketball is played. No matter how great of a team you are, and no matter how bad a team is that you're playing, you're always going to have a down game at some point, and your star player is going to have to take over. And we still won the game. I think last year we don't win this game.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, there were a couple this year.
Yeah.
That certainly had to happen. Braden Smith, to move on to Braden Smith, he is vastly improved his jump shot. Taking that shot is just so much improved.
Yeah.
He's a much better decision maker. Last year, how many times did we see Braden Smith drive down that lane, and he's basically taking himself out of bounds, and he doesn't know what to do with the ball. He limits his opportunities, and Zach is being triple teamed and he just throws the ball away or makes a bad pass and turns the ball over. This year, he is much better with that. However, and this kind of comes back to the attitude of this team when the guards, Lawyer, Gillis, Jones, when these guys are out there and they may have missed a few shots. I've noticed this with Braden Smith. He starts making some poor decisions that we saw him do last year. For example, bringing the ball up the middle and he gets double teamed, he gets stopped. And instead of passing it out to Gillis, who's 5 feet away from him at the top of the key, he tries to do a cross court pass and throws the ball right into the opponent's hand.
Yeah.
And he does that. He's done that on occasion. And I'm trying to figure out what is it that happens with Braden Smith? Does he just get a tunnel vision that he's bound and determined to do one thing and one thing only, and he doesn't see other people on the floor? Or does he not that he doesn't trust them, but maybe he feels that he's got to make something happen. And if he passes it to this person, they've missed their last 2 shots. So if I pass it to them, they may miss this next one. So I'm going to try and either get it into Edie or to someone who hasn't had a shot yet. I don't know.
Yeah. He used to, I mean, what I noticed that he does a lot better this year, he doesn't leave his feet as much as he did last year, where he'll drive, jump, and try to pass and then throw it away. This year, at least he's stopping, pivoting, looking for his pass. But like you said, you do see when no one is hitting, maybe they're all thinking, well, gosh, we're not hitting, so we need to look for Edie, but which is fine because, again, not everybody's going to be on and someone's got to make a play. And so far it's kind of been Edie the whole year, but
consistency.
Yeah. But I think, again, you're going to have a bad game, if you will, but good teams find a way to still win, and Purdue is still winning. And so we have to look at it that way, that even though we didn't cover the spread, we still won that game, and it was on the road against a Michigan team that, the record doesn't show that they're very good, but they're still Division I players. They still are Michigan. They still have NBA potential players on that team. They can light it up just like anybody else can, and they were hitting shots early, and they stayed in the game because they were hitting shots. And we always say, if any team is out there, we don't care who you play, if you're hitting outside shots, especially hitting a lot of 3-pointers, you're going to be in the game with every single team in the country. You got to find a way to stop that. If you're shooting 60% from the 3, you're probably going to lose the game. I think Purdue's really the only team this year that has won a game, and I think it was against Alabama when they hit 18 3-pointers and we still beat them. No other team in the country I don't think could come back and do something like that. With that said, though, I mean, I think this game gets them thinking, we need to get everybody together, and our bench needs to show up a little bit more because, again, Heidi, as great as Heidi was in that Rutgers game, he was just so dominant. And then he comes to Michigan and he only scores 2 points.
Well, remember, we keep watching. He missed. It seems that with Purdue, and maybe it's the curse of having Zach Edey, the National Player of the Year, the most dominant player.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a bit of I'll just say a curse for them, for anyone, that if you're out there and you're one of the top teams in the country, and if you lose, they're going to storm the court if you're away, right? If you're home, you want to, it's your fans. And you're out there, and if you miss that 3, do you kind of tighten up a little bit and go, oh, maybe I won't shoot this next one because we want to get some points, so I'm going to get it someone else, or don't pass it to me, that kind of thing. Do they get a little resistant to taking that shot? Jones will take the shot. That's one thing I like about Jones. He'll either take the shot or he'll certainly create and make something happen.
Yeah.
But they just have to shoot. If you
Yeah.
don't shoot the ball, you can't make a basket.
Yeah, I think Matt Painter always said that too. And I know we always questioned him. And, some people still question him, but I think we're getting better at just understanding that when you are a very good 3-point shooter or shooting team like Purdue is, I think they're still number one in the country in 3-point at 40%. You are going to let your guys shoot. You keep telling them to shoot. I think Lawyer does need to keep shooting the ball, and he needs to shoot more often to get his rhythm back, because I think we have the guys around him to make up for it. But I think you get him going, no one stops Purdue. If Lawyer is hitting his outside shots, no one gets us. And
Yeah,
I
he just
think
has to get that confidence back.
yeah, just got to get his confidence back. So I think one of the questions that I had was, why was that game so close? I think we've already touched on it. I think it was, you know, Michigan, McDaniel, their guard went for 19. Burnett went for 12. They had 5 guys, like you said, that double digits. They were hitting. They were hitting, I believe, way beyond their averages. And, Purdue, from their outside perimeter shooting, we weren't hitting that much. And Edey, fortunately, was dominant. And that's what kept us in the game. But again, good teams find a way to win. So we have to look at it that way, and we move on.
Yeah.
And now we have Michigan State. Um, I mean, what do you think about Michigan State this year? They were preseason top 5, and now they're going to make the tournament. They should make the tournament. I believe they're going to make the tournament. But, from what I gather, they still have some stars on that team. And you just don't know who's going to show up. If they show up fortunately, the game's at Mackey. Usually that really, really helps us because we're one of the best places to play at home. And we did really well against them last year at Mackey. What's your take on this game coming up? It's Saturday
Well,
night.
it's at Michigan State.
No, it's at Purdue.
It's at Purdue.
Yeah.
Well, that's better.
Yeah.
I would say, here's what I would say. That Michigan State is a well-coached team. They're not going to be. It's going to be similar to Michigan. I think they may even bring more to the game than Michigan did.
Yeah.
So Purdue certainly has to be ready for these guys to really do a lot of action, a lot of movement, and probably a lot of pressing. And doubling on Smith.
Yeah.
Force Smith. Double him out towards half court, towards mid court, because if you watch the shot clock, when Smith gets the ball across the court, it's say 22, 23 seconds. You watch him, and if you're on the defense, you want to keep him out there until about 18, 17 seconds, when he now feels that he has to really start making something happen. And so you start putting him under that pressure to be a decision maker. And yes, oftentimes he can come around and hit that jumper, but if you deny him, now all of a sudden he gets that tunnel vision, and he'll try and force it somewhere, and oftentimes get that turnover. So Purdue is definitely the better team. They can certainly beat them. I believe Edey can have just as big of a night as he did against Michigan. I really hope to see some better performances from Lawyer and Heidi. I'm very happy with Gillis. I think Gillis deserves more minutes.
Yeah.
And they just need to have that confidence. Just got to keep shooting that ball and not turn it over. That's what it comes down to. Don't turn the ball over and make your free throws.
Yeah. Michigan State does have Walker, Hall, and Hogard, and those guys are their guards, and they're very dynamic. And we tend to not do very well against very good point guards over the last few seasons, but we, for some reason, play Michigan State really well. So I think with Jones, such a great perimeter defense on those guys, I think he might get on Hogard or Walker. I would assume one of those two, probably Walker, and he'll do a great job. And I think when Morton will be used a lot to go against those guys too in this game. But I don't think anybody's going to be able to match up with Edey. And I really believe Lawyer is going to have a breakout game this Saturday. I really believe. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to match up with him because they're going to have to deal with the other guys on Purdue's team, Smith and Jones. And so I think we will we'll do pretty good against these guys. I mean, I think it's going to be close at the beginning, but I think we will be able to pull away. And I'm not sure what the spread's going to be, but um, it's hard to know about Michigan State this year. They're so up and down. You really have no idea.
But remember, they're coming into West Lafayette, play Purdue. I certainly see them coming in ready to play.
Yeah.
They're going to be ready to play, and they're going to be ready to shoot that ball.
Yep.
These guys are going to, if they're open, they're going to shoot that thing.
Yeah.
We know that that's what they're going to do. They're going to shoot, and they're going to guard, and they're going to do the Wisconsin style. We say that we can explain that for the viewers, that a couple of seasons ago, Wisconsin came to West Lafayette and they fouled out 3 or 4 guys, just fouling Edey.
Yeah.
And they won the game.
Yeah.
Even when they fouled out several of their players. And so we coined the term the Wisconsin strategy.
Yeah.
Meaning you just have fouls. You're just going to say, we're going to throw 3 guys at Zach's. We have 15 fouls to give the entire game. And that's what we're going to do. So it's kind of like street ball. You're going to foul. You're committing yourself to doing those fouls, and you're just going to force them to beat you at the free throw line. Yeah. And most teams will lean towards that. They may not say it, but Zach draws so many fouls a game. Michigan State, I really don't see Izzo doing necessarily that. I think he's a better coach than that, but still, they're definitely knowing that they're going to have to throw several guys at Zach, because there's a good chance that they could get into some foul trouble.
Yeah, I think they're just a little limited on that that front court with the big guys. But we'll see how that goes. Okay, I'm going to throw out a question here for everybody. And Brett, I want you to answer this for me. So they just came out. Edey says, Ann Painter has confirmed this, that Edey will be leaving for the NBA after this year. He does have 1 year left, his COVID year. So knowing that he says he's going to leave, is this a good thing or a bad thing for Purdue going forward, especially for next year with all the new recruits that we're getting and some of the guys that we still have?
On one hand, I think it's a good thing to let the recruits know that there's going to be a gap to fill, some big shoes to fill.
Yeah.
Whether it's Berg or someone else, they go smaller, very power forward, stretch for, a lot of action. They go with a different style of offense. So I think on one hand, it's a good thing. It's going to have to be, since he declared that he's leaving, which is, I need to research and find out why not just wait until the end of the season to announce it. And I'm assuming that I don't know. I would have to look it up, find out why now would he announce it? Why not just wait? Because with NIL money, if he wins National Player of the Year again, what if his NIL money is the same as what he would get in the NBA?
Yeah. I think someone is telling him he'll probably go top 10, but then I've been hearing that it could still be the second round or the end of the first round, and I'm not sure how much you make when you go that far down. But I don't understand why it's happening so early, but maybe it's just one of those things where he's just trying to trick everybody, but who knows?
What do you think about how?
Yeah, I know we've talked about this before. It would be great to have him come back with the talent that we have, but we always talk about we want to go more athletic and more speed up and down the court. And I think the caliber of athletes that we're bringing on board next year with Colvin and Heidi Smith and Lawyer that we have now, that would be the style I could see us going to. And when we have the big guy, and that's great, and I think the big guy is a great addition for Big Ten play. But I think we noticed that when you get to the NCAA tournament, the big guy is not as important as it is the guards at setting up plays and driving. And when nothing is working, you have a guy that could drive and make a basket or at least get fouled. With Edey, as great as he is, the other team is always going to do that Wisconsin style. When they absolutely need it, they're going to triple and quadruple team Edey. They're going to foul him like crazy. And they're going to make our guards have to make plays. Now, can that happen this year? Absolutely. I think we have way better players, or at least Jones and Smith are way better than what we had last year. Smith is way better. We're going to have those three guys really step up. And I think having Zach Edey there, sometimes, like you mentioned earlier, everybody just sort of wants to go to Zach all the time instead of looking for their own shots. So I think having him back, they might rely on him still more, which could be a good thing, because if he's that good, I guess why not? But sometimes you get to the point where you're trying too hard to go to him. If he wasn't there, then we would rely on all of our other forwards and guards that are coming on board. You guys now have to step up. We're going to run and gun now. We have way better athletes. This catching guy that's coming on, this Harris, Glenn Robinson's son, is a big 6'4" point guard. He's going to come in to help take over what Jones is going to be leaving. So we're going to have the talent and the athletes on the court next year. So it would be great to have Edey, but I think if he's gone, I think we're going to be excited to see a totally different type of Purdue team, a different program.
Are you going to be a little bit let down? Because to be honest, we really, and I would hope that everyone out there just enjoys watching Purdue basketball, to watch Zach Edey out there, and during those plays where it looks like he's working on a Nerf rim. It's just amazing to watch the 7'4" guy out there just laying the ball over the rim like you're in your living room on your little Nerf rim, just laying it over.
Yeah.
The last 2 years, it really has been wonderful watching him. And you're right. When one thing that we do talk about is Miles Colvin, Heidi, Jones. We do talk about these other guys and say, we got to go. We want to see some good athletic plays, some good moves, some good drives in that lane, some alley-oops, really get that athleticism going. So it's going to hurt, but with, like you said, with this talent coming in, I foresee a much different team. One that's going to be very athletic, and I'm certainly excited for next season. Almost as much as I'm excited for the rest of this season and the postseason, and take this all the way to the national championship.
Yeah, we'll be getting to a lot more discussions with the Big Ten championship coming up, the Big Ten tournament, and of course NCAA. We will have a lot of things to say about that as we go along. Just another thing for the viewers, Braden Smith and Magic Johnson are the only two Big Ten players in history to go for 350 points, 200 assists, 150 rebounds, and 40 steals all in one season. So Braden Smith and Magic Johnson in Big Ten history are the only two to put up those stats in a season. So that's pretty crazy. Incredible, right? Yeah. So we know we got Zach Edey, the National Player of the Year, probably 2 times in a row. And we also have an incredible point guard that people, when it's all said and done, Braden Smith is going to be this incredible player that we're all going to look back and think, wow, what a team we had. So the goal is for us to enjoy this ride this year, because I totally believe that we are going to go further and farther than we ever have gone with this team. So what we're going to do every podcast for all the viewers out there, please comment below. We really appreciate if you subscribe to our channel. Put comments down there of topics that you want us to talk about in the next episode, because we will come back on and discuss the Michigan State game. Hopefully we have a win there. We'll go over the next game to come up, which would be at Illinois, which is going to be an extremely tough game for us. But we'll talk about that, preview it. But anything that you guys have, any comments or questions you want us to talk about, feel free to put them in the comments below. But with that said, Brett, do you have anything else you want to say before we sign off today?
No, it was nice chatting with you, Brian.
Yep.
Looking forward to a Purdue victory against Michigan State, and boiler up.
Yeah, boiler up, everybody. Have fun watching the game. Hopefully we'll have another victory, and we'll see where this all goes. So thank you, everybody. We'll see you guys later. See you next time. Boiler up. See you guys later.
Hammer down.
Hammer down.
Bye.